This is the Hello World podcast, where we talk about habits of success, habits of excellence, entrepreneurship, leadership, learning and development, and outlook that will help us succeed through life. This is Louis Banta, CEO and Chief Trainer of Learning Just Made Better, or LJMB. And this is episode 16 of the Hello World podcast. And episode 16 will focus on the fifth letter in hello, outlook, the right mindset, the right way of viewing things. And our guest for today will talk about how to deal with work from home burnout. Our guest is an audit manager turned international speaker and career coach. She has been an auditor for 20 years and a certified neuro-linguistic programming master practitioner. Her greatest strength in both being an auditor and a coach is finding the gaps and offering simple, actionable solutions that work immediately. Her life mission is to help others live happier lives. Our guest for episode 16, Coach Wanda Calupig.
Hello, world, and hello, Louie. Thank you again for inviting me.
Thank you for saying yes, and thank you for being here. And we'll talk about a very timely, relevant topic, the focus on work from home burnout. And to our community of listeners, I'm sure that either you are working from home or you work mostly from home. If you go on a hybrid setup, maybe 1 or 2 days going to the office, but I'm sure a lot of you listening today are really working at or from home given the continued pandemic and the safety concerns surrounding us. And very timely, very relevant. I was even telling our guest before we started that I may also most likely have suffered, if not currently suffering, from burnout. So, Coach Wanda, tell us more about what is this thing that we call work from home burnout and why does it happen?
If you look about the definition of burnout, it is all about prolonged stress. So it is all about that, but I believe it differs from one person to another. I mean, each and every person is unique, right? So the manifestation of burnout comes different to different people, but it comes in many aspects. Like for example, for me, it could be mentally. If you do have problems sleeping, then that is one sign already of burnout. And if you
Wow.
also have sickness, any sickness in your body, be it a headache, migraine, flu, or anything, is also a result of burnout and stress. Because if you're mentally stressed, then it's a manifestation on the body. And again,
Mhm.
with our emotions as well. So if you're always, negative, if you're feeling down, demotivated, you don't feel like working at all, or you have very low productivity, then those are the simple signs of burnout, be at home or be at work or wherever you are.
You mentioned three things there. One that caught my attention is having difficulty sleeping. The other one is not wanting to work. And the third one is low productivity. Eh, Coach Wanda, dalawa doon, sakto sa akin eh. Di ba? Yung having difficulty sleeping. And the other one is there are really times and moments when you just really want to stop no and not do anything work related. No? So that's natural in this state of prolonged stress called burnout.
Yes, that's truly correct. I mean, if it harms already, I mean, the normal way of your function, I mean, on a
Mhm.
day-to-day basis, then it's really burnout. But it just gets disturbing when it goes to a higher level of, even they said, cancer is a result of prolonged stress as well. 99% of sickness is because of stress. So if you've been into that, because they said you have a fight or flight mode, right, in your body. If you're always in the fight mode, then that really is causing a lot of problems mentally, physically, emotionally. That leads overall to burnout. So for
Mhm.
me, it was really difficult in my situation, I was always sick before for no reason. I mean, my boss always tells me, "Why do you have to go for sick leave every month?" And even I myself was like, I've always been healthy, but I always feel sick at some point in time. It's not only me; my kids are becoming sick as a result also. But
Mhm.
after understanding all of these burnout tools, I was able to become really healthy. And not only me, even my kids, because I wasn't aware also that I was passing on my stress and burnout to the kids as well and to the family. Because, as you know, right? If the women, if your wife is not well, what happens to the husband, right? And what happens to the kids? So when I was able to manage my burnout, everything changed for me and for my entire family, really. So it's
Mhm.
something that's really need to be tackled, and once you can understand how to cope up with it, it's life changing.
Mhm. And I'm interested to jump to that managing burnout. I just want to ask, you said burnout is prolonged stress. This
Yes.
COVID crisis, no? And of course, it can be different from country to country. And to our community of listeners, Coach Wanda is actually based in Dubai. Yes, where things are, let's say, more normal, or people are, operating in more business as usual compared to the Philippines. Pero coach, no, sabi mo prolonged stress ang burnout. Eh sobrang grabe sigurong stress. And there could be a lot of burnout cases right now because of the prolonged COVID stress.
True, true. Actually, if you look at a lot of studies now, they said that loneliness is increasing by 300%. Depression is increasing by 50%. All over the countries also and all over the world, people have reported increase in stress. Because, if you look at let's break it down further. If you look at burnout, it's prolonged stress. What is
Uh-huh.
stress, right? Stress is, Buddha simply put it, it's the expectation between, it's the gap between your reality and your expectation. Now, COVID has
Mm-mm.
disrupted our lives totally. I mean, in
Mm-mm.
many aspects, right? In the way we do business, in the way we do work, in the way we operate at home, in the way we go
Mm-hmm.
out. So
Mm-hmm.
that change is actually causing all the stress, and that's why a lot of people are actually even reporting burnout already. Because see, we're already 7 months, right, into the
Yes.
pandemic, which is, I mean, it's almost it almost ate the whole of the year. So a lot of people are really, in their minds, it's too much to handle in terms of what's happening inside them and around them. So that's why it's really a topic that is a must, and a lot of people are discussing about it also.
And one interesting thing that you also raised earlier, nakakahawa ang burnout. Di ba, when you said that there was a point in your recent career or life that you felt the burnout and you were passing it on, you were also affecting the people around you. No, ganun pala
True.
ka-viral ang burnout.
True, true. It's really, di ba nga what they said, in terms of the virus, more than the COVID that's spreading, it's the fear
Mhm.
that's spreading, right? And fear is an emotion. Similarly, burnout and stress is an emotion. And
Mhm.
if we are like that, especially our immediate family feels it. Like, for example, if your wife is upset, right, how does she manage or deal with you, right? So it's a negative situation. Even how does she deal with the kids? And even if I am not in a situation to handle my own stress, how can I help my kids? Because I realized they are also getting sick because I was not able to help them manage the stress they face at school,
Mhm.
with their friends, and really, sabi nga nila, the stress is really 99% of the sickness. And once I was able to help them, chunking down, this is the stress from school. How do we take it out from their system? They
Mhm.
were able to really become very healthy also. And thankfully, after 6 years, really, we haven't been to. We used to spend every weekend here in Dubai seeing doctors, really, because for so
True.
many reasons, either I am sick or they are sick. But after I did that NLP, I totally understood how my mind worked, and I was
Mhm.
able to handle every emotion that comes into me and to my kids
Mhm.
processing it. And that is where everything really shifted for the family, mentally and emotionally, and really physically as well.
My takeaway now in what you're saying is really the strong connection, between the mind and the emotions and the body as well. That you're getting physically sick, although parang there's nothing wrong with the body. Tama?
Yes, yes. Actually, what they said, the body always speaks. except that we are not listening to it. That they said sickness is the last resort for the body to tell you something is going wrong with your body. When I started to having that burnout, I was thinking, I have the best life God gave me. I've always dreamed of that job that I have, and I have dreamed of that family. I had everything in my checklist, right? But I was really experiencing very low the motivation, very low motivation. I was always sick, and I was thinking, what is wrong with me? And that is when I
Mm-hmm.
realized there's a big misalignment in my life. So
Mm-hmm.
I was a very positive person, but I was into auditing, which is always finding what's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So when
And
I started to do this training and coaching, and I
mhm,
first actually equipped myself first. I did a lot of training, and then I was able to change in many ways, and I started teaching people what I learned. And when I started doing that with less rest over the weekend, I was able to become physically and mentally okay. It's really it's the energy that you have to channel out of your system also. I mean,
mhm,
my design of being optimistic and sharing it to others is being blocked. That resulted to burnout. It's suppression of who you are.
mhm,
So once
mhm.
you allow that, then that's really something that burnout is like, it's like you're suppressed at some point and you have to just let it go, let it
Okay.
out, and then that's the way you can really manage it.
And you mentioned I identified three warning signs that you already gave, no? Yung inability to sleep. The other one is loss of productivity. Tapos yung not wanting or wanting to ano ba, temporarily escape the workload. What other signs could you give to our listeners so that kayo ha, mag-assess kayo ha, start assessing whether you have more of these symptoms. And as you go through these warning signs, which one could really be major warning signs? Are there minor warning signs? And how can one really tell how many symptoms ba out of a list does one need to have for one to say, I'm qualified for burnout ako?
I think yung sickness is that's the worst level. If you have
Mm-hmm.
chronic sickness, like if you do have something that goes on every month, and if you always have that feeling of unhappiness, and you feel that you have no meaning, you always ask
Mm-hmm.
yourself, am I in the right job?
Mm-hmm.
Do I have to really do this? If you always, feel as a certain part missing in your life, then that's already an indication. And
Mm-hmm.
yun nga, it really depends on the person in terms of the level of sickness also. Like for example, a simple headache might be normal to you. Pero nga, if it comes again and again and again, then there's really
Mm-hmm.
something wrong with that. And yung there are really different levels for different people. But what I can say is that you have to just look at yourself in terms of how do you operate before and now. I mean, if you see yourself, you're just living by the day just to get by.
Mm-hmm.
Diba? You just do your work for the sake of doing it, and you don't find the
Mm-hmm.
meaning of why you do what you do, and you don't find your work as the best way to really spend your time. That's really a burnout day. You're just operating like most people do. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and without meaning, that really is the biggest problem. I'll
So
say.
one way is to look and observe at how you were doing before, and then all of a sudden something happens, no? And then
Yes.
you realize, why am I doing? I'm not like this. This is not me. Tama? So.
Yeah. Like for example, Louis, when I started working for, let's say, Emirates Airlines,
Mm-hmm.
I started in 2016. I really loved my job so much. I mean, I look forward to traveling because I got to travel, I mean, many parts of the world, at least every 3 months when I used to be single because I used to audit these stations. And I really used to do a lot of work, which really gives me so much interest because I'm always about finding gaps, finding solutions. But it was really in 2014 that, I've reached that stage where I was always sick. I was unhappy with whatever I'm doing, no matter, the size. Even if I'm getting recognition, it doesn't give me joy anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And that's about burnout. Even if you enjoy what you're doing before and you don't
Mm-hmm.
enjoy it now, then that's also an indication. So you always have to assess yourself what's happening
Mm-hmm.
now compared to before because you're the best person to gauge in terms of how are your emotions fluctuating and how is your body functioning also. So
Mm-hmm.
it's a combination of many things, but every person needs to assess themselves to what are they feeling about their work, and that will give them an indication. Am I really, if you start to ask yourself, am I in the right job? Like, sabi nga nila, for the first, if you 3 days continuously ask yourself, do I want to go to work?
Mm-hmm.
If your answer is no, that's already an indication
Mm-hmm.
that something is telling you to do something else.
Okay.
So
Wow.
I used to do that also. I challenge a lot of people. Just keep asking yourself 3 consecutive days, do I want to go to work? If for 3 days consecutive you said, I don't want
Mm-mm.
to,
Mm-mm.
that's again another indication.
And I like what you're saying now. 3 consecutive days, because that means it's not burnout if it is just temporary. Tama ba? If you just wake up one day, for example, iba ang mood mo, hindi siya burnout. You have to have that established pattern or consistency in your mood.
Yeah, there has to be. I mean, lalo na women have so many emotions that we ourselves cannot understand.
Mm-hmm.
And I think men also have emotions, except that they don't acknowledge it. And your
Mm-hmm.
emotions really are going up and down. It's like, di ba, yun sa the life machine, right? Our life was
Yes.
really meant to be like that. Our emotions is a search of up and down for you to be alive.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're already reaching the flat stage, kumbaga sa lifeline, sa life machine mo, if your life machine at work
Mm-hmm.
is already reaching the flat stage of no, 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 and
Mm-hmm.
it gets flat, then it's dying already. So that
Mm-hmm.
is an indication itself that, you either be doing something, looking for something, or finding joy, finding something that gives you joy.
Mm-hmm. And of course, burnout can happen even before COVID. But right now, what we are concerned with especially in our topic today, is it is really happening to those who are working from home. Ano ba yung tatlong sources in the work from home environment? Kung tatlo nga ba, you can even cite more. What are these top drivers in a work from home setup that may predispose someone to higher burnout or higher
I think
chances of burnout?
higher chances. First, I want to just give an understanding, in other words, that everybody is going through a lot of stress now because of the change. So that's
Mm-hmm.
one. It's the factors that lead to is number one, there's a change in terms of the office environment, right? The working
Mm-hmm.
environment. I mean, you used to your routine of going to office got disrupted in terms
Yes.
of where do you sit down and go to work? Your mind is but the mind always likes similar. The mind hates change. Oh, let's do this simple exercise, do it for the people to understand. You're recording the video
Yes.
anyways. Can you do a cross arm for me?
Mm-hmm.
Cross your arms. Can you reverse it for me?
Reverse,
You
reverse
can
ako. I'll show it.
reverse. Okay, okay.
Reverse
Can you
natin.
reverse it? Reverse.
How do I do it?
Okay. See, first you were confused, right?
Mm-hmm.
Second,
Mm-hmm.
are you comfortable with the reverse cross arm if you do it
No,
for a long time?
of
See,
course
this
not.
is a very simple change. But see
Oo
how
nga,
your
ano?
mind is reacting to it,
I
Louis.
like what you just
Your
made me do, no? Oo nga, ano? Because
you
I
can
will
always
always
use
have the
this, Louis.
tendency to do this. Oo nga,
Yes.
ano? Oo nga.
See, first, I want to establish that 90% of our functions is already automatic.
Mm-hmm.
That is how we are. That's why we're using less than 10% of our brain power. And the mind
Mm-hmm.
hates change. That simple cross arm is a very simple physical change. But see, first you're like, wait, how do I cross reverse?
Yes.
I mean, not
Very
only you,
powerful.
all people are going through that stage. And imagine how many changes happen to every person because of COVID, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the mind is really disrupted in terms of function because
Mm-hmm.
it likes similar. It always just to function automatically. But now the mind has to keep on thinking, how do I work from home is the first question that people are like.
Mm-hmm.
How do I cope up working from home? Because first, the office environment is different from the house. You might not have an ergonomic chair to work with. You might not have the space, the Wi-Fi connectivity. You might not have the aircon. You might not
Mm-hmm.
have the right environment if your kids are there with you, right? If the Wi-Fi is not working. So that's when the physical
Especially now
environment.
doing online classes, di ba?
Oh my God,
Simultaneously.
yeah. So, and I mean, in the Philippines, right? Oh my God. I mean, the Wi-Fi connectivity is lowest. I mean, from my experience, the many countries I've been to, really, our Wi-Fi is the lowest of them all. So it's really a challenge. So number one is the change in the physical environment has caused so much disruption in the mind. And as a result, your body is reacting toward it. So you are feeling
Mm-mm.
anxious as a result of the change that is happening around you. And as a result of you being anxious, then it's a chain effect. Eh. You have lower productivity, and then because of your lower productivity, you now have sleeping problems because you feel the guilt that I did not deliver what is expected of me. So
Mm-mm.
it's from there. It's about you understanding that the change in the physical environment, the change in how you function. I mean, a lot of people are also not used into using technology, right? At the beginning of the
Mm-mm.
pandemic, a lot of, especially the old ones, are really grasping about how do I use Zoom, how do I contact my staff, and a lot of the staff are
Mm-mm.
also demotivated. Like I feel more intelligent than my boss now.
Mm-mm.
Right? I mean, I've seen that because a lot of people are also asking, I feel so demotivated because I have to teach my boss how
Mm-mm.
to use
Correct.
technology and cope up with it. So, I mean, people are into that mess. And if you've been into that constant mess for a long time, then it really causing that stress and burnout mentally, physically, and emotionally already.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm. And
So I think
I've also heard,
that's all I want to share.
my takeaway there is that everything is really interconnected. No, there are things that are within us, within our control, but there are also a lot of factors around us that are beyond our control. No? We work at home. A lot of my training participants report a lot of challenges. Thank you for mentioning internet connection. This is a number one in the survey I said. No, aside from that, it's not having people around me, the lack of in-person presence of my peers na dati ang daling kausapin. It's very easy to seek guidance and advice from your boss. And you also mentioned technology issues depending on the generation that you come from. The younger ones are, of course, more savvy. They can easily operate Zoom features. But yes, we have to teach the older members of the organization how to deal with this. On top of that, Wanda, yung mga distractions pa, di ba? Saka yung mga
True.
interruptions, no?
It's too much. I mean, the distractions or interruptions are too much at home. You don't get to focus, right? Because the bed is just there, the TV is there, the kids are around. I mean, as much as you can talk to them, I mean, you cannot control them, right? There are so
Mhm.
many things beyond your control at home, which makes it more difficult to work from home. I mean, there are
Mhm.
many disadvantages. I will not discredit that also. But if you talk about disadvantages, there are too many. So,
Mhm.
I mean, initially people will also have back issues, right? Because how do you? I mean, you have to make sure you have the proper balance between the chair and the table. I mean,
Mhm.
you also have ear problems. I mean, if you've been into Zoom meetings the whole day, you can imagine, right, how much stress is it causing to your body. So it's
Mhm.
really a combination of the many changes that you are encountering when you shifted to the work from home scenario. Then this is really what is causing the stress and the burnout. It's been so long already that everybody is
Mhm.
burnout. You're like, I don't want to do it anymore. I want to go to work
Mhm.
the normal way. So that's really what's happening.
However, this is very helpful because you are really giving our listeners some sort of a checklist or a list of things to watch out for. Kasi baka we are not able to identify that we are already experiencing burnout. Some of us might be in denial, right? And what I like as well, before you started our podcast, Wanda actually spoke to her kids. That's one way of managing it. Tama? Yung mga interruptions at saka yung mga distractions, telling your family members. I also mentioned this in our webinars, yung succeeding from work from home. Ako, I put a sign here outside that do not disturb, especially when I'm doing webinars and podcasts like this. Ano? Okay? And I also like what you um, mentioned that it's the responsibility. It's our everyday responsibility to also make this work from home set up work. You said that there are a lot of advantages, but you also cited posture issues. Just want to go back to that one. My job before as a trainer, I stand all day, so and I walk all day. Nawala sa akin yun, coach, no? Nawala sa akin
Yes,
yun. So thank
yes.
you for reminding me that I have to take care of my spine more.
Actually,
Let's
some of
move.
the trainers I know, Louis, they have actually elevated their spaces so they can walk around also. So, I mean, reinventing, right, the way we do things now has been really challenging. And setting boundaries is really very important. In one of the webinars I did, actually, one of my kids came. And it was a live webinar with, I think, there are about 80 people, corporate individuals watching. And she just came. I mean, she wasn't aware that she was shown in the camera, but I think I was able to handle her with grace. And actually,
Mhm.
initially the organizer was upset. But I think I cannot control it. I can only control. I always believe what I want to tell later is that you can only control yourself. And once you do that, that
Mhm.
is also where the magic happens. So when she approached me and she was shown in the camera, I know she was shown. She wasn't aware, but I just handled her with grace. And actually, I
Mhm.
got a comment later that one of the participants was very happy how I handled my kid that way, because she
Mhm.
said when her kids are interrupting during meetings, she gets crazy.
Mhm.
The meeting gets out of hand, but I was able to handle her with grace, and she's like, if you can do it, I think I can do it too, because it's really our reaction to whatever happens around us that will change
Correct.
everything.
And again, while you can implement a lot of techniques to prevent and manage the interruption and the distraction, merong mangyayari at mangyayari, di ba? Eh,
True.
Saka it also provides that that humanness in our working environment. You're not in the office, meron talagang what if dyan, no? Or unplanned, if not the kids, maybe the pets, no? Or maybe the doorbell, the delivery, food delivery that you have to get. So again, as you said, wag masyadong pa-stress. It's the way that we handle these stressful situations. Now, what preventive tips can you give? And if people are already in the state of burnout, like they take 3 to 4 of those symptoms, how can they get out of it? What's the right word? How can they shorten the burnout experience and come out, no? Return to their healthy, mentally healthy state.
I think my first step in everything is first know yourself, right?
Uh-huh.
I mean, know where you are experiencing right now and accept that. If you're,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's okay not to be okay. I mean, we've been trained to be always, resilient, but I think a lot of stress and burnout is because of suppression. If you're not okay, deal with it and accept it. And then after knowing yourself, ask yourself, where do you want to be also? Do you want to really move out of stress? Because I also met a lot of people who like to be victims of their situations. I mean, they like to complain, right? I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it's a human function also to always complain, to have so much emotions. But you can only be a victim if you choose to. So know
Mm-hmm.
yourself, decide. Next thing is to make a decision. Do you want to be a victim or a victor of your situation? Because nobody
Mm-hmm.
can stress you unless you allow them to. This is what
Mm-hmm.
I've always teach my kids, and I this is what I learned, and this is what I've taught many, and I've taught my kids, and it always works. They said life is 10% of what happens to you and 90% of how you react to it.
Mm-hmm.
If people will remember that formula and use it really in every situation that comes to them, that is where
Mm-hmm.
the magic happens. I mean, you cannot control any people except yourself. And that
Mm-hmm.
person or situation is only 10%. 90% is how you react to it. Now, if you're experiencing burnout, that is actually your own emotion. And you have
Mm-hmm.
every power to change that also by deciding first that, oh, you're in that stage. Second, taking action to get over it. And
Mm-hmm.
you have to heal what holds you back. I mean, I know there are many tips already: sleep more, make a plan, make a list. But I also want to challenge people: do what works for you. A lot of people will tell you to do many things, but it is not working for you because this is not what is meant for you. So you also ask yourself simple question:
Mm-hmm.
what do I need to do to be more relaxed now? Right? You take it one step at
Mm-hmm.
a time. Maybe you're stressed now. What do I need to do to be more relaxed now? Maybe you just need to stand up, right? Get some water, walk a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
It's about simple things. I recently, but last week she said, "Can you help me out? I'm so stressed and burnt out already." I just told
Mm-hmm.
her, "Calm down. What is one thing you need to do now to feel better?" She just said,
Mm-hmm.
"Oh, I just need to watch a movie with my kids and I'll feel better." So
Mm-hmm.
she watched the movie. Anyway, each person really, the solution is from within. That's
Mm-hmm.
why a lot of, I mean, these advices doesn't work because it's not applicable to you. So ask yourself a very simple question: what do I want to do now that will make me feel better, that will give me more happiness? And if you do that, you can get out of that burnout situation right away,
Mm-hmm.
because it's your own solution to your own problem. So stop, I mean, listen to what others tell you, but listen to what your body and what your mind is telling you to do. Because it's really
Mm-hmm.
the best and the simplest way to get out of the burnout.
Mm-hmm. And I'm sure that even if there are these techniques, it may not immediately work. And how prolonged could burnout be? Gaano ba usually katagal lang isang burnout phase or experience, coach?
It depends on the person. Eh. I mean, I've
Mm-hmm.
met people who is burnout, and if they already asked help right away, they're able to come out of it.
Okay.
So it's really a person's decision and situation. I
Mm-hmm.
know when I was experiencing burnout, I was in denial stage at first because I
Mm-hmm.
was convincing myself that, ego, I was convincing myself, I have everything I've always wanted. Why
Mm-hmm.
do I mean, this feeling is not even meant for me.
Mm-hmm.
But first, acknowledging that, oh, I'm already burned out. And then making a decision to come out of the situation. I told my husband, I think there's something wrong with me that's
Mm-hmm.
affecting our relationship and the kids also. So let me find
Mm-hmm.
myself. So it
Mm-hmm.
was my when I took that personal decision to overcome of that burnout, then that is where really life changed for me, and I started learning and applying what I've learned.
Mm-hmm.
So that is what works. And I think there's a very quick way for you to get out. I mean, a lot of people also, it's your belief. If you believe that it will take a long time for you to get out of the burnout, then it will be. But if you
Mm-hmm.
believe that it will be quick, it will also be quick. Like for example, the moment you have a negative thought, you just
Mm-hmm.
have to, your mind is always on a primitive stage. The problem with our mind, it's like we're in the rock stage era pa. Like we're always
Mm-hmm.
anxious about everything that goes wrong. But your
Mm-hmm.
mind is just telling you something. The moment you have a negative thought, ask your mind, thank you for sharing.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to use it as a solution tool, you ask, what do you want me to do now? Because your
Mm-hmm.
mind is just, like for example, I have sleeping problems before, and I was like, okay, then I learned that technique. Thank you, mind, for sharing. What do I need to do to sleep? My mind would just tell me, drink some water or go to the washroom
Mm-hmm.
or just
Mm-hmm.
inhale, exhale. Just one thing, and you do it. You do what your mind is telling you, and then it works
Mm-hmm.
immediately. And
Mm-hmm.
that's really one powerful tool. You ask yourself, and you will right away find the right solution that fits you. And you
Mm-hmm.
will get out right away of whatever burnout or stress you're going through.
What's a powerful self-talk that you recommend to those with burnout? Especially, as a business leader, I was struck by what you mentioned that burnout can also lead you to feel, I don't want to do this kind of work anymore. And of course, as a manager and as a business leader, that should be a cause of alarm for me. No? If my people start feeling burned out, baka hindi na magpakita yan one day o baka biglang mag-leave na yan ano? O napasade. What's a self-talk that is very helpful to address the feeling of burnout?
For me, I don't do, I mean, rather than self talk, self questioning is the most powerful tool. I mean, people
Ah,
always
ah,
talks about affirmations, right? But really, the quality
mm-hmm,
of your life depends on the question you ask yourself. Because questions can
mm-hmm.
lead you to solutions, but you need to always ask question solution oriented.
Okay.
Like for example,
Okay.
right? Remember the example I had? What do I need to do to feel better now? Because like
Mm-hmm,
before, when I had sleeping problems, I will only ask myself, why can I not sleep? So you don't
mm-hmm,
know what happens. The mind gives me 100 reasons why I cannot sleep. So the
mm-hmm,
problem is that the more I cannot sleep, because I was asking the question, why?
mm-hmm,
But when I used a very focused solution question, what do I need to do to sleep now? With a time
mm-hmm,
frame, Louis.
mm-hmm,
The mind, and if you also say, what one thing can I do now to sleep? See how
Mm,
specific is that question and how
mhm,
solution focused it is. The
mhm,
mind, is a very powerful tool, and if you use it to that level, it will always give you what you asked for. It's because even if I say, right, even if I say I will sleep now, I will sleep now. Even if I use this affirmation, if my mind doesn't believe it, it won't work. But
mhm, mhm,
asking us a specific solution focused question is the most
mhm,
powerful rather than affirmations or something else. This is I mean what always works for me and what work a lot to many
mhm,
people.
mhm.
Self questioning.
Yes, I like it so much, because I ask about self-talk, and a lot of people I know already have all of those personal messages, that they keep on repeating to themselves. What I find is a useful takeaway is that phrase that Coach Wanda just mentioned, self-questioning, which leads you now to solution, to a specific
Yes.
solution. Ang ganda ng tanong mo, no? What is one, not five, not three to overwhelm you? What is one thing that I need to do right now? Wow.
Mm. A lot of people had breakthroughs with it. Like one person had only one career coaching session with me, but she's able to
Mm-hmm.
find a job because I only asked her, "Tell me what are the three things you need to do to find a
Mm-hmm.
job in the next 2 months or whatever you want." So she just
Mm-hmm.
wrote it down, and I said, "Keep on doing these three things every day."
Mm-hmm.
And she did, because we are really our own problem and our own solution. And once you can match that, that is where the
Mm-hmm.
magic happens. So that's really something.
You mentioned that case where you had a coachee who I believe does not have a job, was looking for one. Pwede palang ma-burn out. Pwede bang ma-burn out ang isang taong currently is not employed? And what kind of burnout does that person experience as compared to those who are working?
They are also experiencing burnout actually, but it's
Ah,
see they said burnout is related to occupation, right? Actually,
okay.
it's the lack of occupation that gives them the burnout. I mean, it's very burnout is prolonged stress. Imagine this person is, a lot of people are really struggling to find a job that fits their
Mm-hmm.
salary requirement, their experience and expertise. And
Yes.
there are a lot of people who lost jobs also. So they're into really
Mm-hmm.
a soup of mess. And they're into
Okay.
burnout stage of finding the job. And
Mm-hmm.
World Health Organization defines burnout as anything related to work
Mm-hmm.
related. So it's
Mm-hmm.
either too much of it, which gives you that, or it's the lack of
Mm-hmm.
it, or the lack
Mm-hmm.
of meaning, I think, that gives
Mm-hmm.
you burnout. So a
Mm-hmm.
lot of them are actually experiencing burnout also. Imagine the stress that they have, right, for not having that label of having a job and supporting the family needs. That's really
Mm-hmm.
something also.
Mm-hmm. And it ties back very perfectly with what I've been saying. Sabi ko dun sa mga posts ko sa LinkedIn and in Facebook, mahirap ang maraming trabaho, pero mas mahirap or mahirap din ang walang trabaho or walang kliyente. No? That's what you just said. No? The lack of work and too much, of work that you cannot find meaning with is a source of burnout. Okay?
True.
Now, Coach Wanda, in our wrap up, anything else that you want to share to our community of listeners for them to be stronger and more resilient during these times to prevent or to bring themselves out of burnout? And you can also, promote upcoming events that you may have or webinars on similar topics that can be of help.
Yes, thank you for that, Louis. First, I want to, there's a Bible called Louis. I only understood it lately. And
Uh-huh.
maybe you've heard of the Think and Grow Rich, right, by Napoleon Hill. It always
Mm-hmm.
talks about the power of the mind. Really, what I want to tell people is that your mind is the greatest gift from God. And as it
Mm-hmm.
is written in the Bible, renew your mind and you will see God's pleasing and perfect will. Now,
Mm-hmm.
if you can see how every negative situation is leading you to something good, you ask yourself thought provoking, solution focused questions in terms of what is the opportunity here? What is
Mm-hmm.
the brighter side? What is this stress or pain telling me to do? You will
Mm-hmm.
always get the answers and you can always see the good thing in any situation. And that is really where you can really see the purpose in your pain, and you can move out of the burnout situation. So that's what I want people to understand. Understand, what is your mind telling you, and do that, because that is what
Mhm.
will give a positive transformation to your life. And
Mhm.
if I may please invite you, I'm doing two workshops on October 31. Spend the Halloween with me. um, it's number one is about burnout to bliss, how to successfully manage a career shift, and how to manage stress, because these are all related. That is with Paulo TV on October 31. That's 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. And on the evening from 2 to 8 p.m., that is with Spendes Academy of Singapore. It's purpose-driven career. What am I meant to do? I mean,
Mhm.
there is really a unique career for everybody. You are experiencing that burnout because, I mean, it is telling you to do something that is aligned to what you are meant to do. So if you are ready to discover what's the right career for you, then I want to invite you to those two webinars on October 31 with Paulo Tibig and with Spendes Academy. It's all about really career shift and finding what gives you joy and meaning.
So there you go, my our dear community of listeners. To catch more of Coach Wanda's tips and recommendations, whether you are in a career shift or just experiencing stress or burnout, you can definitely also follow her in LinkedIn. Coach Wanda promoting you to promoting your LinkedIn account. You can also reach out to her in LinkedIn. And yes, that October, those series of October 31 events, no? Please mark that on your calendar. As you're seeing now, we are presenting here in this video in YouTube the details of the October 31 sessions. Burnout is a very, actually, it's an old concept, but very, very relevant during our time today. It does not choose anyone because of this global, unprecedented event. People are just reacting to this kind of stress differently. And we're so privileged today that we had Coach Wanda Calupig tell us about how you and me can suffer from burnout even when we are just working from home. And emphasizing in the last part of what she said, no? Coach Wanda, the power of the mind. The
Yes.
power to solve our burnout is actually with us.
Yes.
With that, Coach Wanda, you want to thank our community of listeners?
Thank you everyone for joining. I hope you find this useful. I know there is always a purpose for your burnout. You can break through from it. Just ask God, ask what your mind is telling you to do, and you do it. And you are one step away to going out and moving to bliss. That's all. Thank you again, Louie, and thank you everyone for watching.
And hoping that you and your family will continue to stay safe and healthy there in Dubai. And to our community here in Hello World Podcast, once again, this episode 16 of the Hello World Podcast.
Hi, this is Louis Banta, CEO and Chief Consultant of LJMB or Learning Just Made Better. Thanks for watching my video. To get more videos like this, click subscribe and hit the bell icon below. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, comment down below, and share this to others.